Okay, here is a section B problem from 2014. This is off of paper number 2, time zone 2. Now these section B problems always have multi-parts, and you just want to get as many marks as you can. This one has a little bit of everything in it, so you should be able to do some of this. Let's start off with the first part, part A. Consider the triangle PQR. Now since we're given a triangle, let's draw a picture. And we know we're dealing with angle P, so let me put this down in the corner, and that's 30 degrees. And then we got Q and R, PQR, there we go. PQ is x plus 2, label that. PR is 5 minus x quantity squared. And x is between negative 2 and 5. Show that the area of the triangle is given by that expression. Well, if you look at the triangle, you've got two sides and an included angle. So you can use the area formula, the trig area formula, which is 1/2 AB sine C, where A and B are the two sides which include angle C. So in this case, it's PQ would be A, PR would be B, and angle C would be P. So we'll just fill in. So the area is 1/2 A, which is x plus 2, B, which is 5 minus x quantity squared, and the sine of 30 degrees. Now this is on the calculator section. So if you don't know the sine of 30, and you should, the sine of 30 is 1/2. So we have 1/2 times 1/2 times x plus 2. And let me go ahead and square 5 minus x, square double squares. So 25 minus 10x plus x squared. And a bunch of distributing here. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. So we got that part taken care of already. Now the rest of it is you just have to double distribute. So x times the trinomial would give us 25x minus 10x squared plus x cubed. And then 2 times everything. So 2 times 25 is 50 minus 20x plus 2x squared. And the rest is just collect terms. So we have 1/4. Putting the terms in order, highest power, x cubed. Let's go to the x squareds. We have minus 10 plus 2, that's minus 8. The x terms, we have 25 minus 20, so that's plus 5. And the constants, we have plus 50. That's all, plus 50. Hey, how about that? That is the answer, which we were supposed to show. So there's an easy, fairly easy, 2 marks. Okay, so for part B, we've gone from the trig to the calculus. They want you to find the area, the derivative of the area with respect to x. So here's our answer from part A. The area formula, all we have to do is take the derivative of that. So dA dx. That constant 1/4, it just comes down, and then the derivative of all the rest, it's 3x squared minus 16x plus 5. And we can clean that up a little bit. So that's 1/4. You could probably just leave it like that, but I see that it's going to factor. I don't think you really have to do this, but I'm going to factor it anyway to see what's ahead. And that is the answer to Roman numeral 1. Now next, we're supposed to verify that the derivative equals 0 when x equals 1/3. So let's sub 1/3 into that derivative. 1/4, 3x minus 1. I'll use this form. And then x minus 5. If I sub in x equals 1/3, I get 1/4 of 3 times 1/3 minus 1 times 1/3 minus 5. Well, 1/4, 3 times 1/3 is 1 minus 1 is 0. And the other one is negative 4 2/3. It doesn't matter because if you multiply that 0 times anything, you're going to get 0. So verify that the derivative equals 0 when x equals 1/3. We done did it. There it is. 3 marks for that entire section. Now that we found the derivative in part B, now they want you to find the second derivative in part C. So I wrote the first derivative up here, and then I just went ahead and distributed that 1/4. So there's the first derivative. And we want to find the second derivative, so it would be power down, so the 2 comes down and makes that 3/2 x, and then minus 4. So there is your second derivative. Now what we're supposed to do with that is justify that x equals a third gives the maximum area? Well, if we put a third into that equation, we get 3/2 times a third minus 4, which is a half minus 4, which is negative 3.5. So the second derivative is negative. Now, if you think about that, if a second derivative is negative, that means it's concave down. Now, the first derivative was equal to 0, which means it's either a max or a min. But since it's concave down, that means that the first derivative equaling 0 when x is a third, that must be a max. So that justification is just all the words I said, so I could write that out since dA dx equals 0 when x is a third, when x equals 1/3, then x equals 1/3 must be the max, since the second derivative is negative. Since the second derivative is negative. So that's your justification. All right, now we're going to find the maximum area of the triangle. Well, let me erase some of this from part 1. I redrew the triangle off to the right there so we can find that maximum area. Well, we know the maximum area occurs when x is the third, so all we have to do is write that formula for the area again. It takes forever to erase this stuff. All right. So the area was equal to 1/2 x plus 2 times 5 minus x squared sine 30, which remember is a half, so we have a half times a half, and the rest is just sub in. So we're trying to find the max area, which is going to happen when x is a third, so a third plus 2, which is 2 1/3, or 7/3. 5 minus x is 4 2/3, which is 14/3, and then we're going to have to square that. And the sine of 30 I already put over here. All right, this is just a bunch of arithmetic, but this is on the calculator section. It's paper 2, so you can just punch all that in, and if you do, I went ahead and did that, and I got 12.7 square centimeters. 3 sig figs, Dahlia. All right, last, part 3. Find QR when the area of the triangle is a maximum. Well, how can we find QR? Well, QR is opposite angle 30, and we're given two sides. It looks like we're using the law of cosines. So opposite side squared, so that'd be QR squared. This is the law of cosines, right off your formula packet. Side squared plus side squared, well, we know it's 7/3 is one side squared, plus the other side squared is 14/3, minus 2ab cosine c, so that's 2 times the two sides, 7/3, 14/3, and cosine of 30. Except, whoops, this side, 5 minus x squared is the side, and since 5 minus a third is 4 2/3, that's 4 2/3 squared is actually the length of the side. So this is going to be 14/3 squared here. Let me scratch that out. We'll make that 14/3 squared is 14/3 to the 4th. And technically up here, I see I forgot to put that there. Yeah, because it's 5 minus x squared. And x is a third. Okay, so to find QR, just go to your calculator, punch all that junk in. So we get QR squared equals, I got 391.702. Therefore, QR is the square root of that, which is 19.8. And that is the length of a side. So centimeters are our units. And we are done with how many marks on this part? 7 marks. Okay, and that is the end of problem number 10.